So what do you remember most about when each of us was born? Do you have a memory about when your three children, each one was born, as far as
Well, I can't remember when you were born because I wasn't
you were in
around.
Vietnam? But what about
I remember
when?
you pouring milkshake on my head at the Boschba High School.
Yes.
That's my very first beloved
And when did we
moment.
bond the most? The,
Well, I love that moment because it really was a bonding experience. And, I remember the Raffy Jaffers that you loved as a child. Uh, you were so sweet and so pristine. Um, and so that was you. You were my beloved first daughter. And, when I found out you were not my blood daughter, it just about broke everything in my being.
now, when did you find that out?
I wish I could tell you, honest to God, I
Do you
do.
remember?
No, I do not remember that. I can't explain it.
But did it change the way once you found that out? Did it
Didn't
change the
didn't change a thing
the
about
bond
it.
there at all?
No, it didn't change a thing
Yeah.
with you at
It
all.
didn't change when I found out either.
No, that's right.
'Cause
So,
you're my dad, so
huh?
you're my dad.
I'm always going to be your dad. I really am, and I'm always going to be your grandfather, your kid's grandfather. I hope they don't. I hope they don't resent me for that.
Oh no.
So
Okay.
what's next?
So what about Adam and
Oh,
Dawn?
yeah, that's
so what?
good. Thank you.
Tell me about Dawn first. What do you
Dawn
remember
first.
when she was born?
The first thing I remember about Dawn was we brought her home from the hospital, and I held on to her, and I laid her on the front seat of the 1971 Chevy convertible.
The
And
front seat.
The front seat. On
No
the front
car
seat.
seats.
Yeah. Didn't have car seats back then, and and she smiled,
Oh.
and I have a picture of that smile somewhere on a
She's
photograph.
just a happy girl.
Just a happy. Well, we believe it was farts. She had. Yeah.
How cute is that?
Yeah, as cute as could be. That was what I remember about Dawn.
Okay, now what
And
about
then
Adam?
Adam was a very well. Let me go back to Dawn for a minute. We try to do birth without violence
Yes.
with Dawn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right, Dawn. Everything is absolutely opposite of what you want with Dawn in terms of what you expect. Didn't work anyway. So here comes Adam. He's ready.
Yes, but actually, she turned out to be very earth conscious.
Oh.
She turned out to be
Yeah.
very much,
Yeah.
peace loving.
Yes.
And that's the way she was born.
Yes, exactly.
So she was born into this world with love, and she actually manifested that
Yeah.
in the fact that she also birthed her children that way.
That's true.
In a way of no harm and peace and
Yeah.
all of that. So actually it carried on into her life too.
Yeah. But
And
then.
so anyway, so Adam.
But then Adam, we're going to get this right. So we sure as hell did everything just exactly the way the book said. And we had a bathtub with warm water in it. I delivered Adam, except for the anterior shoulder,
At the hospital.
at the hospital. Yeah,
They let you.
And they let me. Couldn't get the last shoulder out, so the surgeon came in and helped me get the last shoulder out. And I picked him up and laid him on his mother's belly. And then we waited until the umbilical cord stopped pulsing, because the oxygen flow is still flowing. And you wait till it stops bulging and stops beating. And once that happens, you cut that, you cinch it, and then I picked him up and I put him in the bathtub.
Oh.
And he laid
In the
in
hospital, they
in
had
the
a little
hosp-
bathtub.
We brought a bathtub.
Oh,
down.
you brought one.
Yeah, it was a little plastic bathtub, one of those
Oh.
little children bathtubs.
Yeah.
And
Now
he
they use
just,
the sink
well,
in the
it
hospitals.
wasn't big enough for you. The sinks weren't big enough.
Was
for
Adam a big baby?
Not bigger than most, about 7 pounds something.
Oh.
I've got it down. So he just relaxed in my hands, and he opened his eyes, and he looked around the room.
He said, "I'm here."
He looked like a 71-year-old man.
Oh, wow.
And I almost dropped him. It was so powerful. That's what I remember about Adam's birth.
So he looked around.
Oh, he did.
You could had a head. He had an
He was-
understanding
he was
beyond his
already-
years.
Yeah, he was already awake. He was already awake.
Were you ever scared as a parent? Carrying that little baby or bringing him home, or was it scary, or was it just
No.
something that you kind of embraced and
Yeah,
saw
I
it as
embraced
a part of life and
Yeah.
a happy part of life?
A very happy part of life. Yeah. So I loved being your father and their father. I loved being your father. I just loved being the father of my children. And
I bet you missed it when they grew up and left.
Yeah, I missed part of that. That was not a happy time.
Now, what would be 3 words that you would say to represent your approach to parenting? And why did you, what 3 words would you say? Because as they're learning how to parent, as they grow, they might be interested in what your approach was to how to parent.
Yeah, well,
And what are 3 words maybe that you'd use to represent that approach?
the first 2 are easy. The first 2 are love and justice. Those are my ever guiding principles in life, period. No matter what it applies to, whether it's work or raising kids or being a friend to another friend or just being a friend to anybody you happen to run into on the street. The third one is a really hard one to put in place because it changes given the scenario that you're in. If you're trying to be a friend to another friend, well, then it's friendship. If
Yes.
if you're trying to protect a woman from being beaten by a mugger, it's courage. It's warriorship. It's strength.
Okay.
Is where you put that third word in. It really changes depending upon what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Well, you've done such a great job of being a parent when we were young,
Yeah.
and then transitioning into a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've done a great job with that, and I think that's kind of a challenging thing because once they turn 18, they're sort of their own individuals now. So they become friends. They
Yeah.
no longer need your guidance. They're kind of on their own. And you've
Well,
done a
some
great
don't.
job with all 3 of us.
Some don't need guidance. Some don't need guidance.
Well,
That's true. Some don't. You're right. Some don't. Some will need it until they start pushing up posies or whatever.
Okay, so another question is what do you think about Uncle Fred, your brother, and how would you describe him? When you think about him, how would you describe him?
My brother Fred,
And your relationship with him, in the young years through the adult years to the very end.
I keep going back to that silly game of Mumbly Peg in the square across the street from our apartment, 5704 South Harper Avenue in Chicago on the south side. And Mumbly Peg was you had a knife, a pocket knife, and you faced each other. You stood facing each other. And you'd take the knife and you'd stick it in the ground, and then the other person would have to put their foot to where the knife stuck in the ground.
Oh.
And then they'd pick that knife up, and then they would throw it, and you'd have to stick your foot to where that knife was in the ground. And you'd pick it up, and you'd throw it. And
Oh, funny.
yeah, and so...
That's dangerous.
It
These
could
boys
be.
playing with the knife
I know.
in the
it could
street?
be,
Yikes.
yeah. I threw it and hit him in the stomach with a knife one time, but it hit him, thank God, with the handle, not with the blade. But I remember Mumbly Peg. I remember. I think his name is Sharp, Mr. Sharp. That used to be in the back part of the square. Used to yell at us to get out of the square and not play in the square. And I remember Fred hitting me in the eye with a baseball bat when I was 5. I mean, these are all childhood memories. And I remember Fred hanging me on my lift on the iron post in the front of the building. We did boy things. We just did boy
Now,
things.
how did your relationship change over the
Oh,
years?
it never changed. It became better and
Even
better
as
and better.
adults?
Yeah, as adults it got even better.
Oh.
I spent the last 21 days of his life with him in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh.
I drove there and stayed with him for 21 days.
And how was that bond? It's the same as ever? Or was it just...
Better.
You told me he would never let you do anything with his hair.
His hair?
Didn't you take care and wash it?
Oh, I used to wash his hair. Yeah.
In the last
And
21
I brushed
days, you did a
his
lot, but
false
you had
teeth.
never done any of that.
No, I never did any of that before. No.
So it really kind of was an intimacy.
Oh, it was a very bonding intimacy, actually. Yeah. Wonderful.
And you could talk about anything.
He was the junk food junkie of the world. He worked for Nabisco Cookie Company and
He always handed out candy.
always hand out cookies and sweets. And oh, poor Fred. All his teeth went to pot. He had to get all his teeth pulled.
Aw.
And he got his false teeth in.
And what finally took his life at the end? Was it cancer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the only one in my family that I ever heard of had cancer.
Poor Fred.
Poor Fred, yeah. He's happy now. He's okay.